Okay, hey everyone. Decided to go all in on a combo deck today, although technically we are still playing Eldrazi, which is something I've been running for the most part. It's been a little while since I posted a video. I've had some pretty rough luck lately with decks that are good decks, but either I'm just unlucky or I'm also not a good pilot of the decks or some combination of that and matchups, or maybe I don't fully understand where Modern is now, but today we're playing this wonky deck here that can try to win on turn one. Reminds me a lot of like the Neo brand builds, if you're familiar. But just to dig into what's going on here, we're using the card Pull from Eternity. If you haven't ever seen it before, it says that you can go ahead and grab a card from exile and put it into graveyard. So this allows us to sneak a card into our graveyard at instant speed for 1 mana. Why is that important? Well, because of the card Gemstone Caverns, we can choose to always be on the draw, and if we have the opportunity, we can exile either an Ulamog specifically. Doesn't super work with Emrakul, but with Ulamog, we can exile it to Gemstone Caverns, tap Gemstone Caverns on their turn to pull from Eternity the Ulamog into our graveyard. And then, on our turn 1, we can cast a Goryos Vengeance on the Ulamog, and then all we need to have done is exiled either Devourer or Emrakul using something like Serum Powder, or our Uggin's Labs are a great way. Although I guess if we did Uggin's Lab on turn 1 and we had just done the play I described, does the Gemstone's Caverns keep its luck counter? Yeah, it should keep its luck counter. Anyways, even if we take the card that was exiled from it. So anyways, that's the way we can win on turn 1. Some variation of that. Getting Ulamog into the graveyard. We also can, Goryos on turn 2 a couple different ways with Pull from the Eternity, grabbing the card that was exiled with like Uggin's Lab, or like I said previously, a Serum Powder, which normally is just kind of like a weird way to add the ability to mulligan aggressively, but it exiles cards specifically. We also can exile cards with Devourer. So again, this is a card that, we're used to that trigger. We're used to using it with Uggin's Lab, but now exiling cards feeds our Ulamogs. The one downside, so the upside of Ulamog, big upside, is that he doesn't shuffle away, so it makes him a lot easier as a target for Goryos Vengeance. The downside is, if you're not casting him, you have to have some way to get stuff into exile before Through the Reach or Goryos Vengeance on Ulamog is effective. And so obviously we'd love to exile like an Emrakul, and then he comes out as a 22/22 with Annihilator 15, which is insane. But even if it is a Devourer, or even if like our Serum Powder happens to exile a Breach or a Ring, he would come out as a 12/12 with 5 Annihilator. Like that's usually enough to end the game. But ideally, like I said, we're hitting the Emrakul or 7-drop or another Ulamog. 10 Annihilator 10 is fine. Through Breach is kind of our backup plan. Ring and Breach are kind of our, if we can get a turn 2 Ring, we might keep that hand. Turn 2 Fable again, because it allows us to enable a Goryos Vengeance at instant speed. So on our second draw phase with it, we get to discard some cards. We could discard an Emrakul and Goryos it in response to the trigger. That's one of the ways to get Emrakul going, because otherwise we need to have at least 3 mana to pull from Eternity and Emrakul and Goryos it in response to the trigger. But with our Talismans and our Uggin's Labs and our Gemstone Caverns, we're hoping to cheat on mana and play our 2 and 3 mana cards on turn 1 and 2. So we're just looking to be fast. We're going to mulligan aggressively. We're going to Serum Powder aggressively. We actively want cards in exile, and so like we'll Serum Powder hands that have Emrakuls and Ulmogs, and then hope to find another one. We can keep, we could keep a 3-card hand with the right thing Serum Powdered. We could keep, Gemstone, Pull, and either Goryos or the big card, and then hope to draw into the other one. We're gonna go aggressive. We're all in on the combo. This isn't a deck that's looking to play long games of Magic and win with a grindy ring, but this is here just because of the power of essentially like take an extra turn, draw an extra card, try to get our Breach or our Goryos or our card for draw into an Ulamog to win the game kind of thing. We're playing 20 lands. Again, 4 of those are caverns. So this is still a pretty aggressive mana base, even though, you might expect this to be a lower number. With the 4 talismans. We also sometimes are going to, cast Serum Powders, I suppose, but not very often. In the sideboard, defense grids are for, Psychic Frog matchups. Obsidian is for every deck playing Eldrazi Temple or Tron lands. Sun Cleanser is for every deck playing Energy. And Trinisphere is for some mix of the above, but mostly in here for Storm. I don't know that we're going to bring it in against something like Psychic Frog, although maybe because it stops force and negation stuff. We're not, the only cards we're really looking to cut, was like sometimes we're going to cut Devour or Serum Powder, or like Fable, the more like fair card, I think is usually what we're looking at. The only thing is, like, if we cut Fable, our only way of getting cards in the graveyard is Pull from Eternity or discarding hand saves. But yeah, cut Powder makes us exile a few less cards on average and have maybe a worse hand, but that's probably our first cut is Powder most of the time. So we're going to go ahead and queue up and see what happens. Like I said, so I played a couple leagues with the ramp Eldrazi deck, and it more and more felt like when I used to play Panza, where it's like sometimes I have a ton of mana, nothing to do with it. Other times I was getting to 5 or 6 mana, and it's just like that wasn't the sweet spot. You gotta get up to 7. Well, 6 mana with a kicked Michael Spawn, and then 7. So then I tried playing the Through the Reach build, which I like better because it only needs to get to 5 mana to do its big thing. But it's also a very popular deck right now, which means everyone has sideboard for it. Has a plan, and I it might just be that the leagues I ran it, I was unlucky. I ran into almost exclusively Psychic Frog matchups, and it was just, annoying to play. The ramp deck is better against the Psychic Frog decks on average, but playing the Through the Breach one into counter spells all day was annoying. And then, I lost to Storm a couple times as well. I've seen Storm basically every league that I've played since Grief was banned. So if you don't have, even if you have a good matchup against them, like say it's a 60% matchup, like you are going to lose that 40% of the time just because like they have the turn 1 or turn 2 kills. You don't draw your sideboard card. I didn't take the play. Okay. This league is going to be, let's see if I actually remember to take the draw. So we really have to evaluate our hand on like, what are we doing by turn 3? So this hand can Gemstone right away, and it can Ugin's Lab this, and it can look at the top 4 cards. We do have a Goryos. The problem is we don't have any target for Goryos yet, and we don't have a Pull from Eternity either. But because we can turn 2 a ring, and we have multiple rings, I think we're going to keep it. I think we exile the Sacred... No, we have to keep Sacred Founder if we want a ring for sure. So I think we're going to exile a ring... Oh no, sorry. Yeah, exile a ring to Cavern, then Devour trigger, exile Devour to Ugin's Lab, and see what we can put together. I think this hand is pretty keepable. Yeah, because I have this and this, I think it's keepable. We have all our like cheap mana. Like we get to cheat on mana here. Ring isn't a great exile for Ulamog, but I want to keep the Devourer for the Ugin's Lab, and I do like having Devourer trigger on the draw and getting to draw it right away. And so like hopefully in an ideal world the Devourer trigger sees something like Ulamog and Emrakul and a pull, and we can put the Pull from Eternity on top of our deck, draw it, and then we get to pull from Eternity the Ulamog and swing with it with Goryos. So we'll see what we see though. Like I said, the backup plan here is this. I think we're sending all 4 of these into exile. I don't need another land. I have my colors. I don't want a second Goryos Vengeance. We're not worried about like discard or counter spells. We're just trying to go fast. So yeah, We don't want any of those. Let's draw the best card we can draw. So they know what we're doing now. Although we have a 7-drop exiled, which makes our Ulamog a little better. We got the pole. So if we had hit any big boss here, this would be great. I'm gonna go ahead and play this out tapped now, so we don't have to shock. Obviously, like preserving our life total is somewhat relevant in this matchup, and I don't really need to Ugins Lab right now. There's also the off chance that I could draw a what's it called? Ulamog or Emrakul. If I drew Emrakul, do I have enough mana to pull plus Goryos? Yeah. Yeah. 1 ring. So we're gonna go ahead and just go with the ring. It's not as exciting as, winning the game, but we gotta draw our big dude here. And you can see where, our turn 2, we have 4 mana. Or 1. If this was a through the breach and we, anyways. You can understand what our deck's trying to do here. Our opponent is executing their game plan. Not the perfect draw for them, obviously. What's it called? Guide of Souls is faster. But Johnny flipping, if he can galvanic discharge a token or something like that, we'll take a lot of damage in the next turns. Okay, we got Ulamog. Do we have a way to get it in the graveyard? If I draw, I go up to 7 cards, which isn't quite enough. And right now, he would only swing as a 14/14 with Annihilator 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I could get him out this turn, that'd be great. Let's see. We could draw a breach and a land. We did not get that. No way to discard. I don't really want to play this Genstone Caverns out because that kills our current one. What's our best play here? Do we just ring again? Draw back up to 7. I don't have time to spend a whole nother turn cycle, I think. Getting this Defiler to discard to hand size. So I think at this point we're going to ring and dig for a breach. I think that's our better play. I did not test this deck, not even a single practice match before jumping in here. So that's my disclosure for you. You're getting me figure this out as much as you're figuring it out. Back up to 7. So we're going to pass. So we could, right now we could, float mana, float red mana, and we could get a Through the Breach if we draw it next turn. We also could just draw our card for turn, draw off of this, discard to hand size and Ulamog, but that is going to give them a turn to hit us. Obviously this turn they can't hit us, which is nice, but I assume we're going to see like a Flage come down, possibly their own ring. Ooh, Bombardment is pretty brutal. Fun card. I like that they play it. I don't know what this art is, but this means they can pass to our turn. Does this trigger lifelink when I have protection? I don't think so. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say, I don't think they get their token. So now they can throw this token at us for 1 damage and flip their Ajani. Where were you last turn, Fable the Mirror Breaker? If we had had that last turn, then this turn we could be discarding this and swinging with it, making them sack 7 things. Obviously they'll throw a bunch of stuff at us and have an Ajani, but it would be pretty effective. I think our best play is to draw 2 cards here. Hope for something good. We've already exiled a ring and lost 1. Chances of hitting our 4th ring are pretty low, but we have a pretty decent chance of seeing a breach, which we haven't seen yet. What other card could do it? Another Ugins Lab could exile the Defiler. Then for 1 white mana we could put it in the graveyard, and then for black mana and another we could swing for 14, Annihilator 7. They throw 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 at us. This becomes a Planeswalker. I guess if they throw it in response, then they have to sack everything. 1, 2, 3. They have 9, so they can only... With 2 permanents, I guess they could only... They could keep like Ocelot plus Flip to Johnny? And hope. I mean, we're at 17, but they'd get a token. 2 tokens a turn would be pretty fast. Our upside is that they've played out 4 lands and they're a pretty low land deck. The downside is, yeah, they have to get up to 4 mana for Flage. So I don't know what's going on here. Our opponent has, I mean, we've used up more time trying to think of what to do, but maybe our opponent's trying to figure out what our deck is. I don't know that I said it originally, but this deck was, I did steal, so to speak. I don't think it's really stealing, but I got the deck list from Aspiring Spike. All I did was change the sideboard a little bit, so this is not my creation. Does it matter? Do I need to tap this for colorless mana? 1 white, black, 1 Goryos. Is there any reason to like cast my Talisman out or anything like that? I don't think so. So put this in the graveyard. Swing, we'll get 7. We have 2 different things that are currently 7. We drew away to exile it. So yeah, we were live to draw 3 of our labs. We were live to draw any 4 of our Through the Breach or our 4th and final ring there. We haven't won the game for sure. Like I said, they get to keep 2. I don't know what their best 2 are. It does depend on what's in their hand as well. We are going to exile this Ulamog, which means it's exiled for our next Ulamog. So we still have a chance to... we're going to play out this Talisman after post-combat. Chance to like draw into Breach Ulamog to finish him off. They decided to concede. Okay. What was our next 3? Oh, yeah. There you go. We were going to kill him next turn. We're going to draw the Breach and the Emrakul off of... what's it called? The ring. So our ins for this matchup are Sun Cleanser. Like I talked about, our outs are either Powder or Devour, maybe Fable. I think we want to keep Fable as a discard outlet, and we want to keep our faster mana so we have a chance to get through the Breach out. Obviously, One Ring showed why it's such a powerful card there, and we're not cutting any of our... We're not cutting these cards pretty much ever. I guess the ring maybe. I don't know what matchup it would come out with. So our options are kind of these. The Talismans come out probably in slower matchups. Grindy. Also maybe Karn, the Great Creator matchups. So, do I want to cut my Powders? I want to cut Devours. Both can exile cards. These exile to my Ugins Labs, which is part of the way that I get fast mana. This gets me better starting hands. I'm not 100% sure. I think we keep the Fables in, although it feels slow against this deck. They're probably bringing in Graveyard Hate after what they saw. They didn't necessarily see through the Breach. They saw Pulver, and Sun Cleanser should hopefully slow them down. We didn't actually see any energy cards, which is funny now that I think about it, but we assume they're playing energy cards for sure. And it's also a 1/4, so, it blocks pretty well. Do I split the difference and do 2 Powder, 2 Devour? That's a coward's way of doing it. I think I'm going to cut the Powders. I think I want to keep Ugins Lab. We're only down a little bit on clock. Oh, going into the game too. It's fun to win a game. Like I said, I think that was a decent keep. We saw why we kept. And yeah, if that original Devourer trigger had hit one of those Ulamogs, it would have been a faster game for sure. Keeping a hand with 3 lands and seeing 2 lands in the top 4 was pretty high density. for our land count. Thankfully, I didn't have to select to be on the draw. Our opponent did it for us. We got our sideboard cards, although I'm not. These don't win the game we're facing a deck where like Charmaw's good. I'm much more likely to just keep a hand that casts Charmaw's, right? I don't think just keeping a hand that can turn to a Sun Cleanser and otherwise has nothing, no card draw, no card selection, no pulls, no Goryos, and no big meanie. If one of these was a big meanie, I'd keep it because I have Breach and meanie, and I don't have all the mana yet, but I'd get there, you know? We're gonna mulligan. Like I said, we gotta be pretty aggressive in this deck. What we're mulliganing for. Sorry if you hear my child yelling through the monitor. What do we got here? We have a way to exile an Ulamog, so we have fast mana, and we have a Goryos. We don't have any way to pull. I can make white mana at least. This also, but if I exile the Ulamog, I'm committed to drawing a pull, whereas if I keep the Ulamog in hand, I could also through the breach it, but then I have nothing exiled. I'd have to also draw something to exile. This is like 2 cards away. I'm gonna risk. I'm gonna go down one more. I think we're keeping this hand, and I don't need 2 pulls. I think I'm actually gonna get rid of the Emrakul. It makes this hand worse if I draw into Breach, but if I'm keeping this, I'm kind of more committed to trying to exile something and then pull it versus holding this in my hand. Because I already have exile and pull, I think I want to keep that over keeping this, and I want to keep the Sun Cleanser to hopefully buy me time. This isn't as good as that 6 we just saw, so you know that's the downside of mulling. I also didn't see Gemstone Cavern in any of those hands, so we saw multiple Sun Cleansers, which I cut the Serum Powders for, so like the powder in that first hand would have been good, or that second one honestly. Would have exiled one Ulamog, would have been good, so then I could pull it. So maybe in the future I cut the Devourers instead, but I wanted to keep Ugin's Lab mana. I don't know what's perfect here. It's obviously based on what we saw, it would have been better to do the other way, but I don't know if percentage points wise it's better to keep the Devourers in the deck. Hopefully they don't go Guide Ocelot, and then this Sun Cleanser might just be too late. This is good. So we're gonna get to exile and Emrakul, which is nice for a pull. Now we just need to draw into a Goryos. So I think I'm just exiling all of these. I don't need to discard. I don't need another pull. I don't need the Devourer. Yeah. I guess it might be better to play this out tapped, and this could fetch basic Swamp, but I'm going to use this to get the Rakkus Theater, or whatever it's called. To surveil anything other than Goryos, I think we're putting in the graveyard. Like, I don't have time to get to a ring, really. Maybe I keep an Ugin's Lab, because that allows me to Talisman plus Sun Cleanser. Well, if they know what we're doing, they should take this. Especially because we exiled another one. Yeah. Oh, they took the Sun Cleanser. Okay. So they're protecting their aggression and their like combo, so to speak, instead of stopping us from ours, which is a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. Okay, I said to always yield, and then it's like, but do you want to yield to this? Ooh, that's not good enough. Feels bad. It feels like I shouldn't ever put that in the graveyard, but I think that's correct here. Of course. We could breach this. Ulamog would be grand. I mean, we're still, what, 2 land draws away from it? So, I don't know. We'll see in a couple turns if I should have kept that. I would be also 1 draw behind, though, so. Question, what does he take here? I guess if I were him, I think the correct pick is actually the Devourer of Destiny. If it's an Ulamog in the graveyard, we can hit it. It puts pull. Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry, pull is the right choice because now I can't pull the other one, and he didn't put the Ulamog in the graveyard. Probably should have just responded to that Thoughtseize. Oh no, I can't respond because if I put Emrakul, it shuffles everything away. Yeah, and if I respond by pulling something else, he just puts a Devourer and leaves the Ulamog. So our opponent is put themselves down to 9. I guess upreaching a Devourer is almost good enough at this point. But they probably... Well, we drew another breach. Okay. We're at the mercy of the top decks now. Doesn't feel great. An Ugins Lab does it, right? 1, 2, 3. We draw an Ugins Lab next turn. We're in great shape. We likely win the game unless they have a... whatever that card is. Draneth Magistrate, right? I think it's called. I haven't seen it as much in the sideboards. What do we reveal? Obsidian Charma. Did not have enough energy to cast it, which is nice. Luckily we haven't reduced its cost, but he's getting close to being able to just hard cast it and take out our land. So we really need to draw an Ugins Lab, or... I mean, really that's our best one. I guess Ring is okay. They have 6 energy. Sacrifice this. So they want to loop what? They probably have they playing the Fulminator Mage or something. They buffed up their Guide of Souls. This is not an Ugins Lab. It's another big dummy. Double Thoughtseize. I don't think there was a different way we could have played this, but we're pretty close to dead here. I think we will get hopefully one more draw. I don't think we have the luxury of 2 more draws. So we pretty much have to draw exactly Ugins Lab now. We can't cast a ring yet. We can't take a turn just to play a land. So, come on, deck. Give us an Ugins Lab for making our memes dreams. They're going to get to trigger Pride. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're one thing away from ascending here. Yep, so we're dead if we don't draw Ugins Lab. We did not draw Ugins Lab. So they saw through the breach this turn. They saw our Sun Cleansers. That's that. We weren't going to draw it for a while. There she blows. Okay. I think Sun Cleanser still slows them down enough that it matters. I think Serum Powder is better against this deck where I need like a good and fast hand. Trinity Sphere would slow them down a bunch, but I don't know that it's worth. Basically makes them do 1 spell turn and counters the Raptor by itself. I think we'll run it like this. Got a lot of options here. It's not really a great hand to powder because we're not powdering anything we want to pull, and we're losing 2 Sun Cleansers. And it's not a hand that I want to keep. Again, Sun Cleanser isn't good enough to beat the deck by itself, and this has no draw, no dummies, no Goryos or breach. So, we're gonna mulligan. Oh, did I say play? Dang it. I did it already in our first match. I chose to play first. Like a big dummy. This hand would be better if I chose correctly, but I am going to keep it. I should have this in play, but I don't because I'm bad at Magic. I'll take the turn to play this out without shocking. The thing is, I don't really want to... Maybe I did want to exile Ulamog with this, because then we draw a pull and we're in business. But I also just want this because it also ramps me into this. And I can't just, through the breach, just blind with nothing in exile. So yeah, I really wanted to cavern there. It is a distinct disadvantage. I probably shouldn't be doing this on my turn, but I really like just hitting pass. I don't think I can afford to keep this with like no way of exiling anything in my hand. Or at least kind of Thoughtseize proof right now. Because I assume they just Thoughtseize the Goryos or one of the breaches. Maybe this wasn't a good keep, especially because but it's hard because I picked the wrong thing. Maybe I was supposed to mull again and try to hit like another serum powder or something. He's got a decent start. Got his cats going. Making more cats. Oh, we got a target for our breach now. If they do Thoughtseize and they forget how Goryos Emrakul works, we could maybe use it as a blocker. Well, no, if he does Thoughtseize post main, there's not really any point, but it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt, and if he has like bombardment here, we're gonna only get like one more draw. Oh, no plays? 5 cards in hand? That is surprising. What are they holding back? Ugins Lab. So the question is, yeah, that's not really a question. We want to exile the Emrakul every time because the Ulamog is better than the Emrakul because he has more Annihilator trigger. What does he have? His Draineth Magistrate. His Reprieve. That's an interesting one. Am I dead? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm dead to Bombardment, right? Because he can sack, deal 7, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do another 6. Yeah. So I'm dead to Bombardment because of a Johnny making the token that does damage equal to the amount of creatures you control. I don't think I'm dead to Flage. 79. But dead to a decent amount. Charmawing that really sucks. Yeah. The one upside is Emrakul stays exiled, so the Defiler is still really good. The problem is I have to draw. I can't draw an Ugins Lab anymore because I can't exile him and breach him. So, Pull from Eternity is a live draw, and maybe I should have kept that. Although if I kept that, I wouldn't have already drawn the Ugins Lab and the Emrakul. So maybe it's not. What do we get? Nothing. Whole lot of nothing. We're close. We're close, but Reprieve got us. That's why they didn't cast anything. Just making sure there's not some weird out that I'm missing here, but we're good. Well, we were going to draw Emrakul's. Of course, if we played this next turn, we could have just Goryos the Ulamog, so... If we had one more turn in us. Now, if I had started correctly and exiled this to the gemstone originally, it might have been a different game. So, hard to tell exactly. We got time for another one. Hopefully we can win a match, so I'll actually want to post this video. That's my goal. That's my goal. I do think maybe we're supposed to still mold down to 5. I mean, that hand is. I mean, it showed you that it was really close. We did get a breach. It was on turn 4. I think it's just a little too slow, and we got to mull aggressively for faster hands. Excuse me. I like how it dims out your hand. It's like you're using something weird. Again, this is not a good hand to powder because we're powdering away a Pull and a Goryos, which are the cards that benefit the most from powder. And we don't have anything. The highest CMC is a 4, and we don't really want to exile the rings. Did I choose to play first again? Man, how do I do this? How do I like remind myself? Don't do this. This is bad. I like gotta keep this on the screen so that I remember. I'll put it like right here, so it's like annoyingly covering a little bit of this box where I keep. Oh, it goes away when I put it front. Anyways, Again, admittedly, I'm bad at Magic. This hand doesn't cheat ring out fast. It just casts Fable, but I guess I could get a Goryos if they do nothing on my turn 4. I just don't think that that's what we're trying to do. So here we go. Wow, this is really bad mana. We're hoping our Devourer does good here. We're putting 1 on the bottom, 2 on the bottom, done. Do that, yes. Trigger. Show me a miracle. I don't know even what I'm looking for exactly. I guess I can Ugin's Lab exile this, but I need white mana and black mana. I guess I'm really just trying to breach in the Emrakul at this point. So I can maybe keep the Gemstone as a second land? No. I don't think I brought any of these. I want a better land. I really want an Ugin's Lab. I want Ulamog. I'm not going to get to cast a ring, so we're just going to say no. Of course, now I get to see all this, but again, unfortunately, it's still the highest CMC we exile was a 4, but again, just thrown off because I'm doing bad at selecting the draw. I have not practiced that. I have not played that enough. So that's on me. If we lose because of it, that is what it is. Make this go away. So I'm doing all this so that I can hopefully still see this. Okay. We just hope that Guide reveals some lands. Yeah, this might be over quick. Maybe I was just supposed to like give it away to them. If it doesn't hit a land here, I'm just gonna concede. I mean, we know they're gonna kill us on turn 4. That's what Burn does, and it's not really a point in just sitting around doing nothing. Another Emrakul. We're not gonna get there, friend. It's okay. Okay, wow, that was fun. I'm gonna remember this time, I promise. Just select correctly. Against Burn. Don't think Sun Cleanser is really worth it. I mean, a 1/4 blocker is something, but I think we're gonna just stick on our main game plan. Maybe Trinispheres. If I can cheat one out early, it really does slow them. Yeah, Trinisphere might be worth it. Over what? Rings, maybe? Ring hurting me on subsequent turns and only giving me 1 turn off against a deck with so many instants and ways to interact. Maybe this is the one matchup where I don't really want rings. We'll try it. Okay, I'm going to click the draw. I gotta say it. I gotta remember. We don't want to go first. Don't want to go first. Don't want to go first. Don't do it. Don't do it again. Don't do it again. Gotta learn to play this deck. They're like, what the heck deck am I facing? How do I sideboard against it? Your guess is as good as mine, friendo. Your guess is as good as mine. I love that white border. We haven't seen a good powder. We've only seen it in hands that have all these cards or rings. We haven't seen it in any of the hands that have these cards. Like I said, we'd love to powder away an Emrakul or an Ulamog or both. Any amount of them, any amount of other Serum powders and lands, sure. Exile those, that's great. Let's draw another 7. And then our pull from Eternities get that much better. Oh my gosh, I almost clicked yes. Were you screaming? Were you saying, don't do it? No. That's a problem. I'm just so used to clicking yes. If it said take the draw, I think it would click in my brain like I want to take the draw. Instead it's a yes or no question. This hand gets to turn 1 a Talisman, turn 2 Trinisphere. I also get to exile Ulamog and have Pull from Eternity, so I think we're gonna keep. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're exiling this. Question is, do I want to pull from Eternity now? On the offside, we draw. On the off chance, we draw a Breach and not a Goryos. I'd rather leave that exiled in case I draw another Ulamog, right? Then it will see a 10 drop in exile. We'll see. Maybe this will give us information that will change our mind. We drew a Blood Crypt. Okay. So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna aggressively pull. The other thing is like pulling maybe because I'm gonna get a Trinisphere, but I don't think so. We did draw the Breach, so that does make leaving it there better. Question is, do I shock myself or do I fetch my? I think I have a basic swamp, right? We're playing mountain and a swamp, yeah. Yeah, I think every little bit counts, and I already have all my mana, right? So this can touch for red for that. This can technically tap for red for that if I need it to. So now we're going to get to Trinisphere on our turn 2. And we're 1, 2, 3, 4. We can Trinisphere and only be one card away from getting to Breach. We need to just... Goryos Vengeance, interesting. This is the other talisman. Maybe I pull here because I'm going to draw Vengeance. Problem is he's useless to Vengeance until I have something else in exile, and that's my only thing in exile. So we still have to kind of draw an Emrakul or another Ulamog for either Breach or the Goryos to be effective. So I am going to go ahead and do this. I will take 2, which is a bummer. I'm going to play the Blood Crypt out tapped. I do think that this is still effectively slowing them down more than me. And if this was a ring, I'd have to shock myself to 11 to ring. Well, no, I'd be at 13 still because I took 2. Hey, an Emrakul. We're 1 mana short. What is he doing? That's scary. Oh, he's just tapping 3 mana because he has to. Vortex is not good. Shoot. He has 4 on board, so I'm effectively at 4. I'm effectively at 3 already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage on board. All he has to do is have 1 spell that does 3 damage and I'm dead. I'm 1 mana short of casting my Through the Breach. I can pull Ulamog, but he does nothing except for 7 damage because... And I'd also take 4. I'd be dead. Shoot. If this is a land, I could Breach Emrakul right now. Also, I can't actually pull Goryos because of my own Trinisphere, so never mind. If I stare at this longer, will it somehow make my Through the Breach cost 4 mana? If only I could splice into Arcane. The other downside is, like, because I guess I'm already dead to any burn spell. It's like if I cast this, then I go down to 1, effectively. That doesn't make much of a difference, I suppose. 1 and 3 are essentially the same. What are the chances he's holding exactly 3 lands and draws 1 more land? Pretty low, I assume. Pretty low. But I think I had to play that out and just hope that I somehow survive and get to Breach next turn. Ooh, a tapped land. That's funny to draw. Yep. Wow. Well, I wouldn't have gotten there even if I didn't take that extra 2. Okay. Well, here's what it is.